Today we've got part 2 of my top 10 in my PC. So this is an expanded portion of the list. I'm excited to share this with you. Not penny cards in this list, so this is going to be a whole bunch of players. There will be some penny, but not just penny. So let's get right into it. Welcome to the most passionate content for card collectors on YouTube and possibly the whole entire internet. As usual, I am your host, Jake Roy, 90s B-Ball Cards here on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, occasionally some Twitter, a little bit of TikTok sometime, maybe in the future, and you know the deal on Threads. So today, like I said, we've got part 2 of the top 10. So this is going to be the cards that didn't make it into that top 10, which was just penny cards. So we've got some honorable mentions that just barely missed it or were on the list last year, and all the non-penny cards that are also just outside of the list. So some players that are actually going to be on this list that might surprise you, some names in some of the cards you might be familiar with. So we'll talk about stuff that might have been on the list prior years and where it's gone over the years, all that kind of fun stuff. A lot of fun stuff to get into, so let's get right into it. Alright, so here we go. Actually 11 cards going to be shared today. I can never keep it to just 10, which is why we've got a part 2 in the first place. So, alright, let's start here with the first one. This is going to be the 03-04 Topps. This is the base rookie of LeBron James in a PSA 9. So this is one that, I pulled with my brother. Or my brother is the one that pulled it. We eventually did a trade. Way back in, it was probably 2003 or 2004, so very recently, relatively recently, got it graded. So this has been on the list, on the top 10 list, since I started doing the top 10s. So 2019, I think this was number 9 on the list. 2020, it jumped up to number 1 on the list. LeBron cards, rookie cards especially, took a huge jump. 2021, it was number 2 on the list, and then last year it was an honorable mention for the first time. So this year it's technically an honorable mention again. So the prices have fluctuated a bunch. I think at the peak during the pandemic when it was number 1, I think it was around $1,000 card. It has definitely come down since then, which makes sense if you look at the pop count and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not crying over spilled milk over that. I'm just very happy to have this in my collection. It's one of those that some people don't love because of the draft day suit. I love that. I think that's a cool aspect. It's just something that I've always enjoyed. So even though I don't enjoy his fashion choice on it, but that's a different conversation altogether. So yeah, this is one that I have great memories with, and I'm happy to still have it in the collection and have it be on this list here. Alright, the next one is going to be another familiar one. So we have here the 2009-10 SP Game Used Combo Materials. This is of LeBron James and Michael Jordan. This is numbered to 499. Recently got this graded by Beckett. It got an 8. Not overwhelmed with joy over that grade, but it's alright. I just wanted it slabbed and protected, and it's something that I had always planned to get slabbed, and I knew that the centering was off, but honestly the centering was not the biggest deterrent on this. Centering got an 8. But anyway, all that aside, this is one that I pulled, one of those summers that I was home from college. If I remember correctly, it was around 2009 that I went into a Walmart and I picked up one of the tins, and I pulled this. I was in absolute utter disbelief. Having arguably the 2 greatest players on the same card, a piece of their jersey, game used piece of their jersey. Really cool. So this one also is another one that has been on the list before, even without it being graded, because this is the first time it's been on the list with it being graded. So in 2020, it was number 10 on the list. 2021, it was number 9 on the list. And I don't think it even made the honorable mentions last year, if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong on that. I have to go back and check the tape to see. But so this, LeBron and Jordan, so it's got a little bit of both. Love the memory of having pulled it. I have a soft spot for this set now, SP Game Use in general, but especially the dual materials. So great having those 2 players. Couldn't have asked for a better duo to get. Next one, this is a new addition to the PC. We have got the Prime Twine, NBA Hoops Prime Twine of Allen Iverson. Very recently, it came up available from a fellow collector another collector on Instagram, was moving some stuff to make some room for other cards in their PC, and this is one that I've had my eye on for quite some time, a very, very long time. I've been, wanting this, and I've had the Stephon Marbury in my collection for a while, and now the Stephon Marbury can be made available to another collector, because I always wanted the Iverson. Rodman was kind of like my number 2 on that list, but Iverson's the PC guy in this set. So just one of those sets that I've always really had an eye for. Such a delicate, intricate die cut. You flip it over on the back, it's similar to, this one is the exact midpoint, 250 out of 500, which is cool. But these don't show up as often as you'd expect for a card that's numbered to 500. Not impossible to track down, but, go on eBay, you can see there's not too many of them available when you compare it to other cards that are numbered to 500. So, one that I'm very happy to have gotten. Again, that's a recent addition, so it's never been on the list before, but we'll see how it goes over time. I might get this graded. It looks like it's in good shape, but, with all those die cuts and stuff, you never know. But just for the sheer protection of it, it might be nice to have slabbed. So, yeah, we'll see. Next one here, this is an interesting one, also a new one, relatively new. So the 97-98 Topps Stadium Club Triumvirate, this is marked as a Luminous, but it is an Illuminator, so this is one of the ones that I talk about that PSA makes mistakes on, and the person put it up for sale, assuming that the slab was correct. So, I've left it in the slab. I might get it relabeled at some point. We'll see. We'll see if somebody from PSA reaches out and wants to do me a solid on this one. But knowing that it's in good shape, it got a PSA 9, I would assume if I sent it in for a relabel, it would remain a PSA 9. But that's never a guarantee these days. But, yeah, I love having this, and now I have the quote-unquote rainbow of Garnett from Series 1, since he's my PC guy that's in that Series 1, and then Series 2 I've got the rainbow of Penny. I did have the rainbow of Garnett from Series 1 and 2, but I moved that Series 2 rainbow since I have the pennies. I don't need all of those. Anyway, enough about that. This one, like I said, has never been on the list before. It is the top Kevin Garnett card as far as I am aware at this point in my collection. They don't come up for sale very often. This one obviously being mislabeled and graded. There's a whole bunch of different things, so hard to really pin down a value on this. But these are very scarce, very hard to track down, and just really cool, intricate die cuts with the acetate as well. Really love having that. All right, next one here. This is a divergence from basketball. So we're going to go here with the 1998 Fleer Tradition Playmakers Theater of Brett Favre, as Carlos would say. So, this is a PSA 7. This is one that I got at the Atlantic City National in a trade with, a friend of the channel, Grant Waldorf Stories. So, this was hard to pry from him since he is a Wisconsin guy. But we were able to make a deal that we were both happy with. So, I'm really happy to get this in my collection. The basketball Playmaker Theaters, to me, do not hold a candle to this one as well. As much as I still want a penny in my collection, having a football one of the Packer is just enough for me at this point. So flip it over on the back, it's serial number to 100, like the basketball are as well. This one last year was on the list. It was number 5 on the list. So for good reason, Brett cards have taken a tumble in value. That's just fine with me. But I still can enjoy the cards, right? At least that's what Carlos and I keep telling ourselves. So, next one, another one that's been on the list before, we've got the 93-94 Fleer Ultra Scoring Kings, Michael Jordan, also a PSA 7. So this is one, that had it for a long, long time. Eventually went ahead and got it graded, and, really happy to have it slabbed. For a long time, the PSA 7s were selling for about the same price as raw copies. That is not the case anymore. Even though these are not worth what they were at the height of the pandemic, these are still very sought after cards. These are not one of the ones that's taken a huge tumble, as a lot of other cards have. So in 2020, this was the first year that this was on the list. It was number 2 on the list. 2021, this was number 4 on the list. Last year was an honorable mention. This year, it's an honorable mention again, and just an absolutely iconic card. Really happy to have one in my collection. So that's a beauty. Next one is a new one on the list. This is going to be the 1999 Skybox Premium Jonathan Bender Star Rubies. This one might be a shock to see, but if you saw my national recap, you saw I picked this up in a trade. Really happy to have done so. This is a PSA 6. For me, it is really all about the authentication. You heard me talk about there was another one at the National in a dealer booth, and coincidentally, I found another collector on Instagram recently that has one that's a big Pacers collector. So, out of the only 25 of these in existence, I've seen 3 of them in the last 6 months. Maybe the last 7 months now, depending on when you're watching this. But anyway, pretty interesting. But these, I had to get it. It being numbered to 25. I would love to get the Baron Davis or the Lamar Odom for my collection. But when this one was available via trade, and I had stuff that the other collector wanted as well, it seemed like an obvious card to get into my collection. Again, this one is one that will not move unless I was fortunate enough to get either a Lamar Odom or a Baron Davis. Those are my 2 PC guys from this draft class, and I have the regular Baron Davis, which is numbered to 45, not the 25 like this one. So, just really happy to have even found one that I was able to get into my collection. No telling what it's worth. I don't remember what the one at the National was listed at, and I don't know if it sold. So yeah, I don't know the last time that if there was a last time that one of these sold publicly. Not really sure. I have to look. All right, getting into some of the pennies that just barely missed out on the list. So here we've got the 96-97 Flair Showcase. This is the Legacy Collection Row 1. Recently got a BGS 7 because of the centering. Interesting thing, these are notoriously off-center. You can see it's, very thin over here on the left side and a little bit fatter here on the right side. But I've seen ones with this card and the exact same type of centering, that got a PSA 9. So I think that PSA knows that this centering is kind of typical, so there's a margin of error that they kind of assess with how these are. But anyway, I'm happy that it's protected. That's why I wanted an BGS slab. This was the first ever Legacy collection that I got from friend of the channel, Wax Museum Podcast. So, he had gotten one of the lots and found this, and we were able to make a quick deal. So very happy to have this one. And again, this is a forever PC, so the grade doesn't really matter. It was interesting though, seeing how this got graded from Beckett rather than PSA. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. This one last year was on the list at number 10. So this year being an honorable mention. I think the first year it made the list was 2020. It was number 7, and I don't think it made the cut on 2021. So this one's bounced all around, but they don't come up too often. Being numbered to just 150. You don't see them too often. Next one we've got here is the 96-97 Skybox EX 2000 Credentials of penny, number to 499. This one, another one I got at the Atlantic City National. It's one that I've loved this card since I had first seen a picture of it, really. So it's one that I'm very happy to have tracked down at the Atlantic City National. It was in a SGC raw card review holder. Sent it off to get slabbed. I was expecting it to come back as miscut. So I'm happy. I like how they do the authentic and then they tell you why. So we all know, or many of us know, about the diamond cutting issue on these. So it was no surprise here. And I've had a number of other players as well that were the same way. So some people have said, oh, it's trimmed, it's altered. It's not. That's the way that they were cut. For whatever reason, I don't know the reasoning behind it, but I know that was the case. So this one last year was on the list at number 7. So this year got knocked down to the honorable mentions, but one that I enjoy very much. All right, getting to the last couple here, we've got the 98-99 Topps Chrome Apparitions Refractor. I was surprised that this one did not make the cut this year. It was close. PSA 9, the grade is not the important part. These are numbered to just 100, which is the more important part to me. These are very hard to find. There have been some that have come for sale relatively recently. It had been a long time since I've seen any, but this is one of those that, as soon as I had seen the base, I knew that this was a refractor that just it screamed it needed a refractor finish on it. So, I'm still so happy to have this in my collection. It was one I dreamt of what it would look like in hand. I had seen plenty of pictures, but never one in hand until I had my own. So, This one last year was number 4 on the list. So I think some of those, multiple copies coming for sale has made the value of this tumble a bit. It's not the most iconic set. Jordan is not in the chrome version, so there's not a chrome refractor of Jordan. So that always plays into the value a little bit. But just a gorgeous card. I could keep looking at that all day. All right, and the last one for today on this part 2, it's going to be the 96-97 Flair Showcase Legacy Collection Row 2. So, like the Row 1, but this one was, technically the base design. This one is in a PSA 9. You can see the centering issues on this. Like I said, PSA seems to take that into account. They know how these typically run. So, yeah, this is one that I've had in my collection. I got it about a month after I got the Row 2, a month or two after, or the Row 1, I should say. So it was pretty interesting getting these in such close succession. But yeah, this one graded better, but they've had a very similar track record in my collection. The value isn't too far off in my estimation. But anyway, enough about that. Last year, this one was number 9 on the list, and I don't know if it's been on the list before. I feel like it has. I can't remember off the top of my head though. But anyway, so another one I'm really happy, and I'm happy with the grade. Having got it in a 9, I was thinking I might actually move this for a card that I enjoy a little bit more to get into my collection, and then after having gotten it back, I got bit by the bug of keeping it. So many of us run into that issue with our PSA grading reveals. We get stuff back, and then all of a sudden we feel a little more attached to it. But anyway, so that's the last of the part 2 of the top 10 plus, I guess. All right, so that is the list. That is, all the top cards in my PC. You're not going to see me doing a top 50 or a top 100 or anything else more expanded than that. I might delve into some of those player top 10s like I've done in the past. Let me know in the comments if you want to see that. I've done, all these guys with one exception, with 2 exceptions actually. Anyway, so a lot of these guys I've done top 10s of those players in my PC in the past. So if you want to see that, we can definitely do more. I'll be happy to share. Love sharing the cards in my PC and some of the stories around them and all that kind of stuff, and especially the new ones. Those are always fun to share with you, some stuff that might surprise you. So we can do that. We've got more stuff coming, so if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss any videos in the future. And new videos dropping once, sometimes twice a week. So we've got looks into my PC, occasional collector interviews, 90s pack openings, occasional show reviews, grading reveals, and so much more. Thanks. We'll talk later.